All right, welcome back. Today is Tuesday. Yesterday we went in and polished our notes and made sure that they were ready for the writing process. And today is a very exciting day because we are going to actually start writing our essay. We'll just tell you right up front that we are really going to make this a very slow process. We're going to take the essay day by day. There's never going to be a chunk of time where I just say like, oh, just write this, right? Like you might have to get caught up at some point, so maybe there will be a point where you'll have to just write. But every day there will be a requirement for what you have to have done. And if you stay on track with that requirement each day, then you will have the essay done on time. So really, all you have to do is complete the introduction today. And if you want to dig into the body paragraphs, you can. It's kind of risky territory because we haven't talked about how those are supposed to be formatted yet. But again, you could write a draft if you would like to work ahead. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the template that you will be writing the essay in. Just to be very clear, this template is not just for you to, not just to help you write the essay, but it will actually be the final form of the essay. So you don't have to open up your own document at any time. You are writing the essay in its entirety in this template. So I'll introduce that template to you and I will give you a brief overview of how to write an introduction, but there's also a little slideshow that I have attached in the folder that will show you more in depth how to write an introduction. So first, if you want written instructions of what you're supposed to be doing today, that will be in the instructions for today category. But what you need to do is go to link to template where you will write your letter. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And then there is a template with sentence starters and a standard template. You can use either one of these templates. Here's what I'll say. If you find that you often struggle with wording essays, like you're like, well, Ms. Holloway says I'm supposed to use a transition word here. What does that even look like? This is a good template for you because what this is I'll show you here. You have to make a copy like you do for all the others. So this is kind of on your own because you can't really sentence start a introduction that's unique to everybody. But for the body paragraphs, they're all formatted like this. One reason that put your argument here is because put your reason here. In the article, it says that's where you put your context. And the evidence, obviously, that will come after to prove that above information. This shows that. And then that's how you transition into your explanation of how your evidence ties to your claim. So all of the little transition words are just built in instead of you having to figure out how to word that. So if in the past you've struggled with writing very technical essays like this one, I would highly recommend that you use the template with the sentence starters. It's not going to dock you any points. It doesn't affect you in any way other than it's just helpful if you have a hard time wording your own essays. Now, if you don't feel like you need this and you want to be very creative about the way that you are introducing your evidence and your claims, you would want to use the standard template. So again, you'll be making a copy of it like you always do. And obviously you're going to go up, you're going to share it with me at hollowaycourtney@gmail.com like you always do so I can track your writing process and make sure you're where you're supposed to be. You'll go in, literally all of this is formatted for you. You don't have to touch any of it. All you have to do is type in the information. I am making this as easy as possible for you because I want to make sure that you guys all have a really nicely written essay. So you put in your name, class, teacher, date, like you would if you were formatting normally in MLA. Then, since this is a letter, you're going to have a greeting. So it's dear, for me, I would say, dear climate change activists. We'll say that. And then my topic is climate change. Can't type today. There we go. All right. Then you would get into formatting your introduction. These are color coded for a reason. The entire essay is going to be a beautiful rainbow of colors because it's easy for me to read and it's easier for you to write. So when you write it, you know exactly which component of the argument letter that you are putting in so that you are ensuring that you are meeting all the requirements on the rubric. It's very, very nice. So for an introduction, you would have to have a hook, an overview of the topic, your thesis, and your references sprinkled throughout, right? And each paragraph has specific requirements. I'm going to ask that you go in and type these requirements in the color in the sidebar. So if I want your hook to be lime green, you go up here, you make your hook lime green. Also change the font so that it is 12 and Times New Roman. There you go. All right, so make sure that you are color coding so that, again, I can see that you know what requirements you're putting in. and that you can make sure you have the requirements, right? If you come to a requirement and I'm like, I don't have this red requirement, then you know you are missing something. You need to go back in and make sure that you have that done. All right, so the next thing I want to do is just to show you, give you a brief overview of what an introduction for this type of essay will look like, because that is what you're going to accomplish today. So once you've gone in and you have made a copy of the template of your choice and you have shared it with me, you will start writing your introduction. Again, that is all that's due today, so I would really just put all of your time into that. I have a sample letter attached here, and you are welcome to reference that at any point, and I'm going to use it for modeling a lot of these different paragraphs. So for this particular model, I did it on a topic that is not at all relevant or usable for this particular assignment. It is about video games and violence. So this is a persuasive essay on why young people should not play video games. It's not my opinion. I just thought it would be kind of saucy to write about something that a lot of people would disagree with. So this is what I've done. My greeting, dear gamers of the world, because I'm writing to gamers. I want to tell gamers that they should think twice before playing violent video games. And here's what I do. Obviously, I'm formatted up here as well. So I go through my checklist. I need a hook. Pretty much every essay you're ever going to write, and I think you already know this from previous essays, you have to have a hook or attention getter. In a persuasive essay, the whole purpose of this is getting your reader to actually want to read your essay. Because with a persuasive letter, it's not informative, right? They don't have to read it. It's you basically asking them or telling them to do something. So in order to get to the part where you tell them to do the thing, you have to get them to read. That's the point of a hook. This can come in the form of a question, super easy. This could come in the form of a bold fact. So if one of the facts you found in your research is really stunning, I would probably use that. Some sort of announcement, or you could start to tell a little personal story to really draw them in. What I've done here is I've said teenagers spend 7.5 hours at school, 7.5 hours asleep at night. Did you also know they average at 7.5 hours of screen time a day, right? So giving all these facts and saying, hey, they also spend just as much time playing video games. So it's like this stunning question where the author or the reader is forced to rhetorically kind of think about that concept. Okay, so the hook, super easy, right? It can be as simple as just asking your audience a question. Then you're going to hop into giving an overview of the topic. This is incredibly important because if you just hop into your thesis and say, I want you to do this about climate change, your reader might not even know what you're talking about. You're going to want to give an overview of why climate change is relevant, what's going on, kind of like in Dakota's essay where she painted this picture of what the bathrooms looked like. So there's toilet paper all over the floor, writing on the walls. She explained the issue to us so that it became relevant and important to us. That's what you're doing here. So what I've done for my topic is I've talked a little bit about the history of video games, how there have been violent video games all the way since the 70s. It was a concern after the Columbine shooting, all of these things, making the topic relevant for the reader. So in that section of your notes where you took down all the notes about like general overview history, those are the notes that you're going to want to put in here, right? And make it kind of cohesive and very concise so that the reader isn't getting like totally bombarded with facts, right? Just a couple of facts. Then you move down to your thesis. This is probably going to be the very shortest part. It will fit all into one sentence. It's going to be your argument, so what you want your audience to do, and a general summary of the reasons why. So here's what it'll sound like. Screen time should be limited because it has negative impacts on you both socially and physically. Boom. You should limit your screen time because that's how your thesis is always going to be formatted for this type of essay. This argument because these 2 or 3 reasons. And then obviously you're sprinkling your sources or references throughout. So every time this comes up in a paragraph, it doesn't mean you put them at the end. It means that you should have them in pink in parentheses. So in your notes, you have your sources listed 1, 2, 3. You're just going to put them at the end of whatever sentence needs a citation. Okay. So by the end of today, I would like you to have your introduction drafted. You have this model to look at, and you have the nice little checklist to tell you exactly what you have to have in there. So make sure that you do have those 4 components because I'm gonna go in and give you feedback and tell you to put whatever component you're missing in if you're missing it. So just go ahead and make sure that you get them all in there because ultimately to get that good grade, you will have to have all of the rubric elements. Okay? So get the introduction done. I will take a peek at it, make sure that it's shared with me so that I can look at it. I'll give you some feedback and give you enough time to go in and change that before we move on to body paragraphs tomorrow. All right, so please let me know if you have any questions.